We are going to be starting 1.4, subtracting integers. If you remember, an integer is a positive or a negative whole number. We have a quiz coming up on Monday, and this right here is going to be super important for you to be successful in your quiz. I want you to pull out your red pen and go ahead and write this down in your notes for 1.4. All right, we have turned this into a song. Let's go ahead and sing it together. This is going to help you on your quiz. Ready, begin. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Take the sign of the larger number, then you'll be exact. All right, during your quiz, you can sing that in your head, probably not sing it out loud. But there was one other saying that I told you that's super important to remember. Let's see if you remember it. Every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. Good job. If you remember those two things, you are going to do great on our quiz. So let's go ahead and do some practice using those two rules that we just talked about. Find the difference. First off, we've got 1 minus 4. Who knows what the answer to 1 minus 4 is? Taylor, what do you think? Okay, not just 3, but negative 3. Good job. Remember, every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. If there's nothing there, there's an understood positive. She could see that those are two different signs. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract, and take the sign of the larger number. So she did 4 minus 1, which is 3, and she took the negative because it was larger, the larger absolute value. Let's go on to the next one. Jonathan, negative 5 minus 2, directly underneath it. You guys are doing this with your pencil, so go ahead and put that red pen away, okay? Jonathan, what do we got? Same sign or different sign? Add the numbers, keep the sign. What do you get? Negative 7. Very good. Going on to the next one. Will, do you remember what it's called when I have two negative signs there? All right, so we call that a double negative. Will, what do I do to double negatives? You are correct. We're going to go ahead and turn that into a monster positive sign. Now we're going to rewrite that so it looks a little bit more normal. And what is 6 plus 5? Very good. Remember, we always do our work directly underneath, so the correct answer is 11. Keaton, moving on. Do you see any double negatives in problem D?
Yeah.
Yes. What should I do to the double negatives?
Make it a monster positive.
Turn it into a big old positive. Now, should I do anything to this negative? No, because remember, a double negative is only when there's not a number between it. We had a number in between those negatives, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it over here to the side. Plus 7 minus 3. What's my answer?
4.
4 is correct. Going to the next one, 3 minus 12. Vivian, what is 3 minus 12? Okay, 9. How did you get that? Same sign or different sign? Okay, different sign. Subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So which one had the larger absolute value? The 3 or the 12? The 12. And is the 12 positive or negative? It is negative. So what's my correct answer? Negative 9. Very good. Next up, Ansley. What should I do first with problem F? Good job. We are always going to get rid of those double negatives. So then let's rewrite it. Negative 8 plus 13. What's my answer? Same sign or different sign? Different sign. Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract, and take the sign of the larger number. So what should my answer be? Okay, let's start with this right here. 13, we're going to minus 8 because we just take the absolute value. What is 13 minus 8? It is 5. Now take the sign of the larger number. Which one had the larger absolute value? The 8 or the 13? 13. So is my answer positive or negative? It is going to be positive because the 13 is a positive number. Moving on to the next one. Ethan, what should I do first? All right, let's get rid of that double negative. We're going to add them together. And what is 5 plus 4? 9 is correct. That was kind of an easy one. All right, let me have you guys do the next one on your own. All right, guys, what'd you get?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 is correct. We had different signs right there, so we had to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. This 17 right here had a larger absolute value, so that is why it was a negative. Great job. Next up, I want to teach you something different that we have not talked about before. This is called find the distance on a number line. So the thing you're going to do whenever you're finding the distance, you're going to take the largest actual number and subtract the smallest actual number. So I'm trying to find the distance between -3 and 5. Looking at those two, don't look at the absolute value, but the actual numbers. What is the largest number out of those two, class? 5. 5 is bigger than -3. So I'm going to take my biggest number, 5, and I'm going to subtract my smallest number. What was the smallest number? Okay, -3. Now you can put parentheses around it if you like. You do not have to though. Guys, what do I do now? Okay, I've got a double negative. We're always going to get rid of double negatives, turn it into a positive. Let's rewrite it underneath. What's 5 plus 3? 8. So that is how you find the distance between two numbers. I want to show you today how to do that on a number line. The first thing you're going to do, let's take the first number that we've got there, which is a 3, or a -3. Let's mark it on our number line. The other one, you can see over here, we are using a 5. All you're doing is you're finding how many numbers are in between those. You're finding the distance between them. So let's go ahead and count the hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice that is exactly what we got over here, okay? So the distance between those two numbers is 8. Let's go to the next one. Find the distance between 2 and -5. What is the bigger number here? Not what is the bigger absolute value, but which number is bigger, the 2 or the -5? 2 is bigger. It's a positive one. So I'm going to start with that positive number, 2, and what do I have to do to my smaller number? In order to find the distance, we're going to subtract them. So let's go ahead and subtract -5. Once again, just to show that that's a negative number, I'm going to put parentheses around it, but you do not have to put parentheses around it. Will, what is it called when I have two negatives side by side? Very good. It's a double negative, so we're going to go ahead and take that, turn it into a big positive, and we're going to rewrite 2 plus 5. Vivian, what's my answer? 7 is correct. Now, once again, we're just going to double check that on the number line. Let's start with the 2 right here. And then we're trying to find the distance between that and the -5. Now, I am going to be hopping backwards, so hop with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Listen, that is the exact answer we got right there. It does not matter if you are hopping in a negative direction or in a positive direction. Anytime you're finding distance, it's always going to be a positive number. Okay, so let's imagine if you went running. If I said I went running for 3 miles, could I ever say I went running for -3 miles? No, that doesn't make sense. Even if I ran backwards, I am still running. I'm still maintaining that distance. So distance has to always be a positive number. So we've talked about sometimes we don't understand why we might need to know things in math. Well, these modeling real life problems help us to understand how to relate it to our life. So modeling real life says, which continent has the greater range of elevations? Range is that distance. Which one has the largest distance between the highest elevation point and the lowest elevation point? So what I want to do, let's go ahead and just split up our data here. We're going to start with North America. And then we will also be working with Africa. So what I just taught you about distance is you always take the largest number and subtract the smallest number. Out of North America, what's the largest of those two numbers, class?
6,198.
Very good job. 6,198. And then I said you have to subtract the smallest number. What's the smallest number you see there?
-86.
-86. If it helps you, you can put parentheses around it, but you do not have to. Keaton, what do you see there in my problem?
Double negative.
All right, good job. We're going to always take that double negative and turn it into a positive. We'll rewrite it underneath it so it's nice and neat. Now, as you can see in class, we have not been practicing with a calculator. This is not a calculator chapter, which means You will not be using a calculator on your quiz or test next week. So you're just going to go ahead and come over to the side and add these numbers up on the side. Josh, what'd you get? Very good, 6,284 meters. So that is the distance between these two elevations in North America. Am I finished with my problem? No, I have not answered my overall question. The overall question is, which continent has the greater range of elevations? So now I have to go to Africa and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I want you guys to try to find the distance between the highest and lowest elevation points in Africa on your own. All right, as I just walked around, I saw a lot of correct answers. Remember, you take the biggest number, 5,895, and subtract the smallest number. Here's where people made the biggest mistake. They forgot that the smallest number is negative 155. So you've got to make sure you're putting that extra negative in right there and not just thinking because you had a minus that you didn't have to put the negative. Because now, in order to find this, we see a monster positive. We have to combine those double negatives into a positive. Then off to the side, many people did their work. And class, what did you get when you added these two together?
6,050.
All right, very good. 6,050 meters. You want to always put units attached. Now, back to our question up here. Which continent has the greater range? Which one was greater, class?
North America.
North America. So we're going to go ahead and write out North America has the greater range. And then don't forget, you want to box that answer in. All right, unfortunately, our notes got a little mixed up in the packet that I printed off. So I want you to flip now. The next page is not quite right. I want you to flip one more page. And then just so we can keep this together, this is going to be 1.4. So go ahead and write that up at the top. And look for the page that says you be the teacher. It's in everyone's packets. It just got kind of mixed up. So for problem number 4, it says you be the teacher. And a lot of times in your homework, you're going to find problems just like this. Your friend finds the difference. Is your friend correct? Explain your reasoning. So this right here is the original problem that your friend got. I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite it down here. I want you guys to work out this original problem and see if you get the same answer that your friend got. All right, Jonathan, do you think your friend is correct or no? No, why not?
Because he didn't make the two double negatives a giant positive.
Okay, very good. No, he didn't turn the double negatives into a positive. So if I were to work it out over here, you can see this should have been turned into a positive. I would have rewritten it 5 plus 6. The answer should have been 11, but instead his friend got -1. So anytime you have these, is your friend correct? You're going to make sure it starts off with a yes or a no. Now, I had someone in an earlier class who said no, and when he explained his reasoning, he said he's not good at math. That is not good reasoning. I want you, when it's an explain it reasoning, to show me that you can identify exactly what the problem is, not just that your poor friend is not that great at math. The next section asks us to evaluate the expression when A equals 5, B equals -2, and C equals -3. Something that I have found that helps my students in the past is just to kind of draw a circle or cloud around the A, B, and C so that they don't accidentally forget what those numbers are. Now all we're going to be doing is we're plugging in. Everyone say plug it in, plug it in. Instead of B minus C, what am I going to plug in for B, class?
-2.
Okay, -2. The biggest thing is people try to just put a 2. Look carefully. There is a negative sign there, so please don't forget that negative. Next up, what sign is in my original problem? The minus sign. Please drop down. Sometimes people forget to drop down the original signs. And now what should I plug in for my C? -3. Okay, very good. If you want to, and it's helpful to you, once again, you can put those parentheses around the negative, but you do not have to. Sequest, what do I need to do next?
So you gotta make it into double.
All right, very good. He found the double negatives. He's turning it into a positive. Underneath, I'm just going to rewrite so it's neat. -2 plus 3. Sequest, what is -2 plus 3? Okay, he said 5. Now I want you to look at this. Is this the same sign or a different sign?
Different.
Different sign. Remember that song. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. So you want to subtract the numbers, Sequest. What do you get? 1. Take the sign of the larger number. Is the larger number a positive or a negative? The larger absolute value. It's a positive, so our answer is going to be +1. Very good. Moving on to the next one. Let me have Keaton. -C minus A. What should I do first?
Make the -C a negative 3.
Okay, so the first thing you want to do is bring this sign down, that original sign, minus, and then he told us we're going to plug in a -3. How many of you guys like to put parentheses in there to help you? Okay, if you are that kind of person, put them in there. If it doesn't help you, you do not have to have parentheses around your negative numbers. What else should I drop down?
The A and make it a 5.
Okay, so...
And then minus.
All right, first things first, just reading from left to right, we're going to bring down the minus. And then he says that A, we're just going to plug in a 5. All right, what should I do next?
Then there's a double negative.
Very good. Let's turn the double negatives into a positive, and I'm left just with 3 minus 5.
And then you get 2 after subtracting 5 and 3.
Okay, and take the sign of the larger number. What's the larger absolute value?
5.
At 5. So is it positive or negative?
Negative.
It is negative, and -2 is our correct answer. Going on to the next one. Guys, what are these lines called when you have straight up and down lines around something? Absolute value. Remember, with absolute value, we're just going to drop down the absolute value signs first, and we're going to plug everything else in. Ansley, what is my B? -2. What sign should I drop down from inside? Drop down that plus sign. And what is C? -3. All right, so here you can see I've got double signs. Ansley, who always wins out of plus minus? The negative always wins, so I can just get rid of this plus sign right here. I'm going to drop down my absolute value, and inside the absolute values, all that's left there is -2 minus 3. Guys, remember, every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. Do I have the same sign or different sign inside of this? Same sign. Add and keep. What do I get? -5, because we're going to go ahead and keep the sign. And Ansley, what is the absolute value of -5? It is just 5. So the correct answer is 5. Final problem for this section. Ethan, A over B, plug it in, plug it in. Excellent. He tells us it's 5 over -2. Now here's what I want to explain to you. In your homework or on your tests or your quiz, it's going to say to make it in simplest form. Simplest form means do not leave it if it can be reduced, or as you can see, this is called an improper fraction. If something is improper, it's going to be marked incorrect. Instead, we need to make that a mixed number. How do I make 5 over -2 a mixed number? What should I do?
We see how many times 2 can go into 5.
That is correct. We are simply trying to see how many times 2 can go into 5. So we're going to take our top number, 5, divided by 2. You can do this in your head if you know how to. If not, what is our answer? What do we get, guys? 2 1/2. Now, if you remember over here, we did have a negative. Okay, so what's my final answer going to be? -2 1/2. All right, so doing this kind of work, this is stuff that I expect you guys to already know. If you don't understand that, try to do some review with how to make improper fractions turned into a mixed number. Once again, you want to always make sure you put things in simplest form, and that would be getting rid of those improper fractions. All right, next up, we're going to do one more problem today. Think, pair, share. Match the subtraction expression with the corresponding addition expression. So if you look at this, this says 9 minus something. This is also minusing. This one is minusing, and this one is minusing. Let's look at this. I am adding, 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 and adding. Here's what's interesting though. Each one of these subtraction ones means the same thing as one of these addition ones. And you have learned by our rules how to figure that out. Let's look at the first one. 9 minus -5. What should I do to the double negative? Turn it into a positive, and what am I left with? 9 plus 5. Do you guys see anything down here that looks like 9 plus 5? D, that is correct, okay? So D means the same thing as that first problem. Let's box that in, and we're done using D, so we're gonna get rid of it. The next one I want you to look at, do you see any more problems up here with double negatives? Which one has a double negative? 2, 3, or 4?
3.
Number 3. Let's go ahead and work with that double negative right now. Turn it into a positive, and what are you left with? -9 plus 5. Do you guys see anything over here that says -9 plus 5? A does. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put down A. Sometimes when you are working multiple choice, it helps to go out of order. Now, I want you guys to try to do number 2 and 4 on your own. See if you can figure out which one over here matches number 2 and which one matches number 4. All right, it looks like some people are having a hard time. If you cannot figure out from looking at this, what I would suggest is come down here and look at this. Do you guys know a way to eliminate one of those double signs? Remember, whenever we have a plus minus, which sign can I eliminate or get rid of? The plus. Why? Because the negative always wins. Now if I read from left to right, it says 9 minus 5. Do either of these over here say that? Which one? The fourth one is correct, okay? So that means this one right here is going to be problem B. Now, don't just say, okay, that means the last one has to go there. Instead, let's look. Do you guys see these two signs? Who always wins out of plus minus? The negative or the minus always wins. So I'm going to subtract this. Notice what's left. -9 minus 5. What does this say? -9 minus 5. So the correct answer there is C. These are just different ways that you can write things, but they mean the same exact thing. All right, so tonight's homework, there are 10 problems. Once again, you are going to do this on your notebook paper. You need to make sure it's labeled correctly. If you forgot how to label it correctly, go back to the YouTube video that tells you how to set up homework with your date, your assignment, your name, your class, and your number. Tonight's homework, there are 10 problems. You need not only to do it on your notebook paper, but you also have to submit it onto the Big Ideas Math website. All right, at this time, you guys may go ahead and begin your homework.